Hello, everybody. Welcome to Resolve the Unsolved Forum by Penicia eBiz Consulting Group. Today, in fact, this is our 35th webinar, and we decided to have a discussion on a real time case study. And the subject is challenges faced by family owned businesses. Now, across the globe, by and large, 75% roughly of the businesses are held by families. It is not unique to India, it is across the globe this happens. Challenges faced are also by and large similar, but obviously, region wise or country wise, there may be certain differences which we have observed, which happens. Today, what we are going to discuss is I'll share with you, I will narrate with you in brief a real time case study without naming the family. It's a real case pertaining to an Indian business environment. Based on the case, what we will do is we may not be in a position to discuss all the challenges faced by a business in this limited time of an hour, but we will focus on very critical challenges which are there. At the onset, let me share with you the three critical challenges which we'll be discussing on. One will be poor succession planning. Second will be lack of trusted advisors. And the third challenge will be governance challenge. Obviously, the business structure is sizable, or the case which we are going to discuss, but not very large. So at the onset, let me just share with you the case study which we are going to discuss. The total business volume this family has been managing has been ranging between 350 to 410 crores type, which is neither very large, neither too small. Now, this is a very recent case, and the outcomes are still being dealt with. The family in picture is a second generation business operator, into second generation. Their parents, in fact, their father has set up the business 60 years back, based on which his two sons and a daughter has been building up on the business. And the second generation which is managing this business, it is into retail electronics, which has approximately 20 stores across northern India. They run two schools, good schools, with an average of 1,500 plus students. They have also been into processed food exports. So they have a food processing plant and exports the item to 3 countries. And have been planning to launch a retail store, a departmental store with couple of outlets with an online operation in groceries. And that is on the drawing table to be launched post this second pandemic wave. So they were planning it for the last 1.5 years. The second generation, there are two brothers, age 55 and 59, and one sister 52. And they have been looking into this business. The sister has been only focusing on, because she's 52, she is married and settled, on the two schools for a very long time, even before she got married. So she took charge and has been managing these operations. Among the two brothers, the elder one is managing the export operations. He doesn't have his own family, he is not married, and most of the time he is involved into the operation of exports and is most of the time staying in Singapore. The younger brother, he has two kids who has been managing the retail operations and supporting the export business also, and has been also planning for his next generation to take charge into the grocery stores chains which he was planning to take it up. Now, both the brothers and sisters, they have their shares in the business respectively. At the same time, their parents are alive, and but they are not involved into the business. They also have their own shares into it. Now, if you look into the next generation, after this one, that is the third generation, since the elder brother is not married, the younger brother has two kids, as I mentioned. One of them have just completed his studies in 2017. After completing his MBA from Singapore, is back into India in 2017 and is very interested in launching a finance consulting firm. So he's not interested in what his dad does. Though the family tries to pull him back, he comes and spends some time. His dad was not doing very well 2 years back. He had a mild stroke. That is when he held for a couple of months. Again, went back to launching his own business, which is there. And as I mentioned, the elder brother of the second generation, he most doesn't spend too much of time over here in India. He's mostly into Singapore and looking into the export markets, which is there. The sister, she is obviously married into a different family, and that family has a construction business of their own. She has a daughter and a son, and her son has grown up. So he is focusing on to his dad's business in construction. Now, having painted this entire business family and given the turnover which they are into, I'll just paint a small situation which happened 3 months back and is alive right now. Because of complications of the scenarios right now, the younger brother was admitted and unfortunately he could not survive and passed away. Now the entire business is there, its operation is there. The eldest son, who was not interested in the business, is forced in the last couple of months to come back, somehow try and see what the business, how the business could be revived. The person who passed away, his elder brother, anyways, in Singapore. He has also come in over here, but he doesn't have too much idea about the retail operation because since he was not involved. The sister manages the school, but the schools are run by the principals mostly as a trust. She also doesn't have too much of involvement into other operations. Now the situation is you have roughly a 410 crore and a new business lying over there with very senior managers also working, a pure solid asset, and everybody's slightly confused what to do and how to take it forward. Because there was one gentleman who is no more there, who have been running and didn't plan things. So this is the context to the discussion. So at the onset, I would throw the first question about a succession planning, and I'll raise this to Mr. Goel to start off with. Mr. Goel, in this context, keeping the discussion very open, what do you think would have gone wrong or right in the case which I shared with you? Please, Mr. Goel.
Thank you, Sandeep. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this 35th webinar. And this is, we thought of giving it a bit new shape and to discuss a case study rather than like we are building up knowledge throughout these months. So now onwards, we'll try to take up problems and we'll try to resolve them to fulfill the name Resolve the Unsold. Now here you are talking about basically, Sandeep, we are looking at three generations. One,
Right.
the father basically who started the business, then his two sons, and then down the line their kids. I hope that's what the structure is.
That's it.
So now if we look at this problem when they have grown to a level, maybe at first generation or second generation, third generation is yet to come. So their participation and contribution is almost must be negligible.
Nil.
So now, when the elder son of the first generation was not interested in business, and it was only the younger one who was taking care of the business, so there would have been a structure in place where succession planning, which we talk generally, that when you are growing outbound, so you must have a succession planning in place, and there comes the theory of middle management and decentralized operation. Now that has not happened, and generally it happens in family-owned businesses that most of the power is conferred to the proprietor and the owner of the business, and they generally do not decentralize their powers, decision making, or many other aspects of the business because of a lot of which is more towards the mindset and profit management or blah blah things. There are a couple of things. So here, what I see is that the first generation has actually not spent time in the succession planning. One, and the same mistake is committed by the second generation as well. Otherwise, today, like one person, like if we talk about all MNCs, they are operating in different countries. Some of the companies are working maybe more than 100 countries. So they are not
Right.
one man ownership. So the structure basically is the biggest problem. You can control the finances, the money belongs to you, fine. But operation has to be decentralized and there has to be layers in between so that if something is missing, if the person is missing, the business does not stop. So business contingency planning has to be in place, and we must have different levels of working where one person should not hamper the entire chain.
Right, right. Thanks for sharing your inputs. Now coming on to Sanjeev. Like Sanjeev, as we were talking yesterday, similar situations have transpired with a couple of families you mentioned. Okay, so here, is it very critical that there should be a succession planning in such scenarios? And if so, why?
I can quote one of the organizations that I have worked, where the succession plan was there, but the main focus was just like Goel Ravindraji talked about, the middle management to be developed. So it has to be handled by the professionals. What will the point is that my business should grow. That should be the mindset rather than I should control the business. So I have seen overseas one of the companies where only the owners will come for the board meeting, each month board meeting. Rest, operation head, finance head, your logistic head handle the entire business. They come for a review on a month-on-month basis and they see it. Now this is one of the ways where whether the next generation, even if is being groomed up, whether they are able to run the business or not, get eliminated. That is very important. That one has to really understand that it is not the owner itself. It is so many lives attached to the business, which is also getting affected. So I strongly believe succession plan, yes, one has to groom the next generation, but definitely with a lot of professional coming in the operation level or in the top level also will help the business to sustain and grow. That is my take on the initial, which is, I think, probably missed in the case study we have just been heard. Thank you.
Right, right. Thanks for giving your views. Staying with succession planning, most of the time what we have seen that people feel that I have done. I know my son is going to come up or my brother is going to take over. People are there. But there is much more to succession planning than the word called succession planning as such. Right? Before I go across to Mr. Goel, Sanjeev, I request you to get into it. Uh, what actually goes into succession planning? Because the question is over there. I introduce my son or daughter to the business. They can take it over. They can run the show. If it was so simple, these scenarios won't crop up. And you see, worldwide, the data exists that around 70% businesses crumple, family businesses crumple after the second generation.
Yeah.
And lucky are the ones which has been consistent. So exactly what are the nuances and what are the criticalities? If you can just focus on that, though we are familiar with it. Please, Sanjay.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to name a company. I don't think there is any constraint. I worked in that company called Mahindra and Mahindra. Now, if I give you history of Mr. Anand Mahindra, who is the chairman, you know what? He is graduate engineer and a management, qualified from overseas, one of the US university. When he came and joined the organization, he joined as a trainee in the organization. Keshav Mahindra, who was the chairman of the company that time, ensured this his brother's son should join from the trainee of the company, and he should interact with the the staff and everybody, understand and grow with that, and he should get the same salary of the normal trainee, and he groomed up with that speed, and he grows up and almost spent 10 years on the making him as a company structure way. And now, since he has worked in different levels, he understands the beneath problem of the business. The understanding running of the business is very simple.
Right.
If you know the teething problem of the business, where exactly the problem lies, then if you solve, then anybody can get it. So why this company was successful? Because the succession was happening in a very trained manner, where he just doesn't come and sit as a managing director or CEO of the company, but as a graduate engineer, like that. So when somebody is grown from the very basic, from the very, very basics, and then he grown,
True.
then probably he's a very, very good successor for the business. That is my take on this.
So that's very important, because in succession planning, which we have seen, it is not a matter of 2 months or 3 months.
Yeah.
We have coached companies and families where it takes at least, as Sanjeev rightly pointed out, 2 to 3 years for a person to actually understand, because the promoter of a business, he or she had a vision. A business is not only money, it's a vision, and it's a long term with which people get associated. Yes, it gives life to a lot of people and money to the family, no doubt about it, promoters. But the vision has to be understood, the long term perspective has to be understood, and it is just like a young person joins a company and slowly grooms himself or herself into a senior leadership. It needs time, effort, guidance, financial suggestions, business suggestions, inputs, knowledge, everything to make it bigger, if we are looking at making the company to sustain and take it to the next level.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
At this context, I'll request Mr. Goel. We have been talking about the succession planning and the importance of it. Now, how would you feel, or how would you suggest, because you always have been wearing both the hats. We have been into consulting. You are fortunate enough to be a consultant, advisor, and a business entrepreneur most of your time. So how should a business family take this forward as a succession planning?
See, for this, let me just take an example of like I am a part of Rotary International.
Right.
I'll be heading that club probably from 1st of July this year.
Wonderful.
Rotary is now entered 100th year of its operation, and it is almost across the globe it is there, and more than 20-30,000 clubs are there, and they've been running very successfully across. Now, like every year we change the president, we change the district governors, we change everybody every year on very 1st of July. It happens that the new person who comes in, he may not be that visionary, or he may not be that dynamic, or he may not be that probably proactive, but the system never goes down. So what Rotary has done is basically they have created a system and a process guideline.
Wonderful.
So even if somebody who is not adequately trained, who's not passionate, who's not proactive, then also the system will not collapse, because he or she has to follow a well-defined system. Now take the feud between the biggest family of India. Now when they got separated, they were almost having the equal wealth. Today, if you look at, one is almost
Yes.
at the verge of almost lost everything, and another is now like in top 10. So it is the
Yes.
person, it is the person who's on the top. Now, when you are on the top and you feel that you have created something, so there the liability lies to that person. Take example of GE. Before Jack Welch, like the GE was facing the same problem of succession. and they were planning to close a couple of divisions just to survive. And at that point of time, when Jack Welch entered into the system, he not only re-engineered everything, but also created a succession planning for the future to come, so that the G should remain there. Now today, Jack Welch is not there, but G, I think, is as strong as it was. But yes, when on the top again, if somebody comes, let's say a very nasty guy, or somebody who just have a destructive mindset, or maybe very aggressive in terms of bringing in new culture or bringing in new technologies or something, which
Right.
will not adapt or gel with the existing ongoing. So it may happen that the company may have some problems in different aspects. Like one of the family which we took example of, the other
Yes.
person basically opted for the businesses which he was fond of, or which he
Yes.
created, or which he thought that he is creating them, but he could not
True.
survive, he could not take them to newer heights. And those were
Yes.
basically the new era industries or new era this thing. And the same thing has been taken up by the other one, and now it's a multi-billion entrepreneur, multi-billion enterprise. So one, I say that like Rotary,
Very much.
need to believe in the systems and processes, and that's the liability of or responsibility of the key person, that he should create a system which may be reviewed periodically, maybe in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 5 year, fine. But everybody has to be in line for a particular system and processes, so that one person, it is not person dependent. The company or the organization should be process dependent.
Process dependent.
And
Very
that's how
important.
the old MNCs and big companies or conglomerates are running around. And they don't, we sometimes it happens that we even do not know the promoter's name.
Yes. Yes. Very true. Very true. Thank you. Great. In fact, Mr. Goyal, the points which you covered, system, processes, and how the company should run, brings us to one of the next challenges out of the three which we are going to discuss, is a governance challenge which a family business has been facing. Now, staying with what Mr. Goyal brought in, systems and processes, what we need to appreciate and understand is very, very critical. A family into business, they have the shares and stakes, well and good. But one thing is very important, they are directly or indirectly married to the business which has been created. So it cannot be that I will have the share of the company, but will not try and understand what is happening over there. And at the same time, every company will have a family by and large. Family will have one generation, the next generation coming up. They would like to pass on the benefits. And obviously, like this case and what Mr. Goyal mentioned, there will be some next generation person who would like to do something new. This is where we come with a challenge which has been faced by larger or medium-sized business families. What is this governance? Can a family business have a governance? That is only good for a corporate, as Mr. Goyal pointed out, but it is very important for a private or a business run or a family run business too. Staying with this, as Mr. Goyal you pointed it out, I will switch over to Sanjeev. Sanjeev, since you have been involved a lot, not only from the corporate finance side, and you have faced these scenarios in corporates and with families, what brings us to that point that corporate governance or a governance structure should be there at the backbone? So when I'm saying about a governance structure, what I'm referring to is very clear for everybody's understanding, that there is either a board or there is a way, there's a structure created among all the stakeholders, how they're going to not manage but be part of the organization. They can be an outsider, insider involved into it, not a problem. So, Sanjeev, if you can share your thought process in governance as a challenge and why it is important, please.
So one thing that you talked about is very important point, mission of the company. And second, what Ravindraji talked about, processes system. These are the survival factor for any businesses. If these things are not there, then no business cannot survive. The simple as this. Now, as far as corporate governance concerned, your strategic, teams are concerned, or strategic thinkings are concerned, one has to really take deep down into the how it just has to be take a decision. Now, for expansion, you are into any kind of business, it has got its own limitation up to which you can grow. That means you have to, when you want to grow, you have to grow horizontally also. It cannot be just vertically. When we are talking about horizontally, then obviously you have to have the strategy in business that link business or a new set of business to be taken up, and the strategies are to build around that. Definitely when you are entering into your out of your comfort area, which you know it very well, then you need to do some kind of a deep down into it and try to find out. Now, here I again go back to what Vinderji talked about, process and system. Now, process and system is here for the expansion of business. It has to be very, very clear what kind of business I'm looking at. One is that everybody is thinking that, okay, today is very good to open up a hospital, let's do that. But it can't be a mushroom grower sort of a thing where you are just cannot pull out 100 CR and try to do a business, because it has to move strategically. Otherwise, your current business will also get impacted, whatever way, cash flow and all these things. So I think what is most important when you are looking for a growth in the business, whether in the same business or through expansion or new set of business, a strategical, setup is required as a
Very true.
process. As a process, is not as no. Let hire somebody. Let's do the duty. No, not that way. Who is doing what? Collective corporate responsibility is very, very important, where each and everybody's role is defined. If each and everybody's expectations are being properly documented, then you move on. So that you've got a structured way of thinking that is, I have taken, even if this doesn't go well, I have made all the effort. Back of your mind, you should have it, so that it should not stop you that I should not take any more experiment in my life. That then it's a stop of a business. But if I know what exactly went wrong and which is my weakest link or whatever in this process and system, then probably I will able to guide myself well towards the
Very true.
growth. Yeah, that's my take. Thank you.
See, you pointed out very, very important points, Sanjeev. What we have seen in some of the family businesses, as they expand, they want licenses, they want international tie-ups. Their younger generation coming up will have expectations. It has to come out from the family business. So, as you rightly pointed out, and as we come to Mr. Goel, I'll just add a couple of points. A governance structure created within the family, even if people who are not involved into day-to-day operation, there can be a written documentation. Okay, fine. If a new person comes in, he wants to do something new. Since he's my son, I want to support him. How will that happen? How will the company fund it? No problem. He should be, because he's part of the family. Now, if the new businesses are coming up, these structures, what happens is, if you have these structures, when you're going for an international license for manufacturing or a tie-up, people will respect that a business structure is in place. Otherwise, getting a license or operation, sometimes we have seen, even for the largest business families in the country, has been a challenge. So if your company is planning to become a large company, if you want to keep it to 100 crore, 200 crore and want to manage and stay within it, you may have a smaller structure, well and good, you can remain a country. But if you have a long-term vision into multi-crores and thousands, you have to have a platform backend which has systems and processes, who does what. And when we say who does what, is not only daily operations, but it is about people who are not involved. What are the disciplines? What are the activities? how will the next generation get funded? If they are not involved, how will be the shares shared? And in that forum, it's always welcoming to have outsiders also. It gives you a lot of fresh air and ideas as you take it up. Having built this structure up, I think it's time I take it over to Mr. Goel to add his valuable point at this stage, where we talk about governance as a challenge, which we have seen and realized with business families. Systems and processes, as you mentioned, Mr. Goel, rightly, sometimes or most of the times have been missing. It's a one-man show, and when he or she disappears, things collapses. People don't know. So, if I'm running a business, how should I go about creating a corporate governance or governance structure? Please, Mr. Goel.
As Sanjeev said, that I should know what I'm doing. The first, the
Yeah.
biggest challenge we look at is that we call ourselves like the Ravana character from the Ramayana, that I am immortal, I'll not
Oh,
die. That is one of the biggest
okay.
mistakes anybody is doing, because ultimately everybody has a span of life. So as you move further, one has to really look at what after me. What I'm doing is fine. I'm just adding on to Sanjeev line that what after me also should be there, how things will go on. So people do not really think over it that what will happen. That's point number one. Now, second point, if you look at, probably I must say that uh, in Delhi, when you move around, you see a lot of vehicles price maybe more than 2 crore, 3 crore, park outside on the road, not in the parking. So that gives you a mindset that what exactly and how exactly you must be running your business as well. So you are cutting corners, you are saving time, looking for short-term, trying to save your 5 minutes probably what you'll be spending in parking, maybe parking it properly. So when you have such kind of mindset, you grow, uh, depends, your growth depends on what time you have started the business, or you are into opportunistic time. But you really cannot say that the product or the business or the organization will grow for a longer time or can sustain the kind of names we can take openly like Birlas or Tatas. I mean, they are surviving more than 100, 150 years. They have passed on to from many generations, and they are still running.
Yes. Yes.
Recently, definitely, as the newer generation is coming up, lot of new instances definitely will arise. But they have some channels, they have some thought process, and they are not going away from that. So one person has to think that yes, I'll be off one day. My battery will be down and I'll be disconnected. So nobody thinks on that. Now today, one of my friend, he's a good speaker and he's a renowned speaker, rather I must say, on succession planning. We invited him one day. So he was talking about that today, out of 100 big families, probably 90 must not have their will in place even. Forget about succession
Yes.
planning. The family, the wife or the children, they may not be aware of what probably where the money lies, where the money has been parked, and what all bank accounts we have, who's the signatory,
True.
what loan the person has given. So the idea is that we all have become Ravanas, that I have 10 heads and I'll be living for eternity, I mean, I'll not die. So that mindset has to go. Now, we don't have a retirement formula. I'm just adding for on a lighter note, neither in
Yes. Yes.
politics nor in business. Retirement is not a concept. Now, if you talk about, let's say, Bill Gates, we take example of Bill Gates. They, whatever peak or whatever they are doing, they have a definitive plan that yes, at that this particular time will exit from the business. So definitely, when you have a plan to exit, you have a defined exit time. Definitely, you'll plan in advance. Here, a person who is 85 years old still running the business. I think we had a
True.
very popular figure on TV. who passed away
Yes,
recently.
yes,
Even now, he's the face of the company. In
yes,
all advertisement, he's the face of the company. Now, part is that we are self-conscious people where we think that we are bigger than the system and we are bigger than everything. And the moment we say that the Ravana wakes up in us, so then nobody is going to survive under you. They all probably will look after, as you said, the new generation ask for something new. There is a reason with
yes,
logic. They don't find space, they don't find respect, they don't find equilibrium where they can probably merge with the existing dynamics. The father or the
right.
grandfather has a different style of treatment or handling individuals, and the younger generation probably
Yeah,
are not aligned to that. They feel that it's better to start something new and be your own boss rather than becoming a labor in the company. I'm using a labor because I have heard such kind of words when you speak openly.
yes, we have heard.
The next generation doesn't want to become a labor in their own family business. So, second part, when you talk about governance, today it is more towards in India. Basically, it is more towards profiteering. So governance का
Mhm.
मतलब जो है in India is how will I manage the profits, and the moment you are
True.
managing the profits, no governance can come in place. But then it is your vision that this month or this year I'll be showing 7%, next year I'll be showing 5%. So neither you allow growth to happen and nor you allow professionals to take up the way it should be.
Take up.
So the professional you hire, basically they are simply hired to manage your thinking and to manage what you want. So actually you are not hired a professional mindset. You have hired a doer who knows how to do it. So
Right.
that means you are hiring labor and labor will do whatever you say. So it is again come back to the same person, the person who is owning the ship, captain. So it becomes Titanic and sinking is inevitable.
Obviously. That's so very true. So very true. So very true. Mr. Goyal, in fact, you brought in very, very critical points through examples in what you shared with all of us and have beautifully linked it back to governance. So, if we look at the case, a small brief case which we share, if a company has systems and process, if the company has proper succession planning, if there is a governance structure in place, how will the family business run? How will the investment happen? Who will do what? There are shareholders, but shareholders are not sleeping. They are aware of what is happening. The company knows who are the shareholders and at least have seen their faces. And there is a process and there is a charter or an idea. If a new generation, as Mr. Goel mentioned, wants to do something new, how can the family business help them do it, even if they don't want to be part of it, which is there. Some of the companies which Mr. Goel you referred to, which Sanjeev you referred to, we have seen they have also come up from a very small organization to large entities. So any family business which wants to sustain and be there for a long term have to have what Mr. Goel and Mr. Sanjeev share right now about system, processes, a structure, a governance, a plan in place, what has to be done, and it has to link with all aspects of business. What funding can be done through debt, what funding can be done through equity, how should a person be dealt with who does not want to be the regular part of the regular business but wants some investment. Everything well defined, well structured needs to be taken up. At this juncture, before we go to the next question, people, anybody has any question at this juncture can raise it by unmuting or put it into the chat box. Okay, we can break in and answer. Anybody can join in at this stage. Now, having talked about succession and talked about governance, what both of you shared brings into a very, very critical question. And as Mr. Goyal pointed out, that when I hire somebody or when I involve somebody, how they do it, I'm the whole soul person. Okay? There has been a major challenge which we have observed in business families as they are creating the structures of a trusted advisor. It's a very, very sensitive area which we are touching upon, but this is one of the crucial things because as you are going through all this succession planning, organizational structure, governance planning, you might be discussing with somebody and going on. A lot of times it has been observed that a company has not got a right kind of trusted advisor. Let me make it very clear over here what we are trying to focus at. All three of us have observed that most of the time, without any, don't take it anybody in personally, too much dependent on finance, as if finance only understands the business. Balance sheet and P&L account is one aspect of a business. It can say lot many stories by changing figures here and there. That is different. So a finance guy will understand it better. Or a legal person. Legal person understands legal document. But unfortunately, most of the time, the finance person or the legal person have never run a business or have never gone into vision planning and discussions. They are all capable, very capable. But how do I go about identifying a trusted advisor? Can I bring in? Does the person understand about business? At this juncture, let me come to Sanjeev. Sanjeev, what is your experiences? I'm sure you have a couple of things to share. Please. They're very,
So,
very important.
so I will quote one of the examples that in one of the organization I work, it's a family-owned business outside the country, and they have the professional in place to run the organization. They have the CFOs, CTOs, all this guys, whatever you can talk about, and they run it very, very professionally. It is not only the finance. Finance is, is more into the recording and analyzing the transaction, like the operation does their work. One business guy who runs the business. And by quoting, I have worked with one of the best CFOs of the world. He talked about that he was CFO of that company, and the CEO asked him that, okay, this business I want to do. The CFO has done his already due diligence and give it to the CEO. CEO says, it seems that you are not okay with the business, but I still want to go and do the business. And he did that business, and he was successful into that business venture as an actual case. This is in Thailand somewhere. And the point is that the business running is not a rocket science, actually. It's not a baby of a finance or an operation or a legal or a HR or any function. It's a mixture of everything that we have to understand. That business, this is how the business has to run. Now, when we're talking about trusted, now everybody who is a professional, they are abiding that to give the best of the professional services to the businesses. Now, it is up to the business owner to apply it and take the benefit out of it. And he or she should have the aptitude to understand whether the advices he or she is getting is the right one. He or she has to have that kind of a aptitude to understand maybe the complete intricacies of anything what is there in the finance or legal or in operation may not understand, but overall that person should able to distinguish whether this is the right approach or not. So the trusted, when you're talking trusted one, trusted is definitely is a very, very big word. I will talk about a professional advisor. Professional
Right.
advisor that, okay, he is a professional, he's a chartered accountant, he is a HR guy, he is a operational guy, or he is from the legal guy and all these things. He's a professional guy, and the expectation that he will carry on the work on that basis. Just to give you one example, in Japan, 90% of the work is done by a consultants only. They hardly hire anybody into the businesses, and they are very successful. The point is that is coming that you have to really understand, and you have to talk what is there in your mind as a owner. You can't be just talk about some portion of your idea. It has to be, when you are transparent, you have to completely transparent that this is I want to do it. Please suggest me. I'm not, there is no gap between my cup and the lips. That is exactly. So when this kind of a thing will come from the owner, obviously everybody will give the professional services as per this thing, as per their as per their aptitude and their this thing, and the organization will grow from there. So I will talk about the professional advisor to come to the business, and the expectation from the owner, there should not be any gap, what you are saying and what you are thinking. So when these two will marry, I don't think there will be any challenges on the entire front. This is my take on this.
Very true. Nicely put, Sandeep. Nicely put with your experiences. And as we keep on discussing on this, I'll just add 2, 3 points to this before I come to Mr. Goel. Yes, trusted and professional. A person who understands your business's long-term mission of your business or your business family, what you want to do. Like in fact, in a couple of cases, we were talking about every business needs money. Money can come from debt, money can come from equity, money can come from licensing, money can come from partnership, money can come from hiring or selling of businesses. But the problem is, with the long-term plan of your company, what kind of money will be right is important. That a professional and trusted advisor can tell you. It is not about bank tells me, yes, I can give you money, I take it. Is debt good? It's not about the percentage. It's about the capability of the business. And we will not go into the details about debt or equity or something as such, but this has long connotation on how we are taking each step. A trusted and a professional advisor can give guidance in when a new generation comes and wants to take up new things. How could it be helped? How could it go about where the entire family can be involved? Big companies today do it. And this is where the case which I shared. Some of us as professionals are trying to help the company out. But the problem is those kind of companies, their senior business managers, everybody is in a confusion. Principals are in confusion. What's going to happen? They may leave the ship like Titanic and jump away before even research of the company. And as Mr. Goel mentioned, if the systems and processes and governance was in place, as Sanjeev has shared, we could have saved the scenario. Coming to Mr. Goel, as Sanjeev mentioned, and we have been talking about trusted advisor. If you can throw real-time light, because you are aware of it, okay? Why is a trusted advisor and a professional advisor important? Because what you are going to share will be real facts. Please.
Thank you for saying this. I'll just add on to what Sanjeev has said. Really, it is something very good, like trusted and professional both at the same time. I'll just take an example that you are driving a car for long and it has never dissed you. And you take that car into Formula racing track and say it has given me a good drive for last 10 years. So I'll participate in Formula track through this car. So that will not do. That will not do. So part is that trusted person has to be seen in the newer perspective. Now today, when you started and the person became trusted to you, at that time the situation was different, and today probably the situation has emerged out differently. He may not have that competency to speak what you are looking at.
Yes.
So the next point comes is that the person who is to be trusted, is he open enough to say that boss, it is beyond my limits? You speak to this person, he is more knowledgeable. It's like a criminal or maybe the legal matters. Like for finance, you go to a different lawyer. For criminal, you go to a different lawyer. You don't stuck to your trusted lawyer for all the cases.
Yes.
It doesn't happen that way. But in most of the matters which are related to business, it happens otherwise. You speak to one person, and I must say that most of the consultant, most of the trusted people have not actually uh, come up to that level where you are being now. As of now, probably you have developed and grown over a period of time, but your person whom you are trusted and talking, he may not have grown to that level. So
Yes.
you are talking to a person who knows you for last 10 years and is still there. So nothing will come out from the discussion, despite that he's trusted, despite that he has helped you out and he has worked very well with you. But as you are growing, you need to really take it that way. That today, like I had a cold and cough, I'll go to my family doctor. Tomorrow I have some other problem, I'll go to a specialist, maybe nursing home. Tomorrow, if I have some bigger problem, probably I'll go to a hospital, or maybe I may plan to go abroad. Now today you can't just go to nursing home and say, let you please change my kidney or do the
Hmm.
liver transplant. You will not allow. But with business, you say, I've spoken to my trusted person here. He said it is not good. I'll give you an example of a company, a friend of mine.
Yeah.
One of his old trusted finance guy made him to pay taxes to a tune of 70, 80 lakh rupees per year, just for the sake of that he was interested in coming out with an IPO. That guy did not probably worked out in detail whether he will be able to sustain this kind of profitability for long, and what size of investment will be required to do it to come out with an IPO, and what expansion he is planning at, because
Yes.
he never been into that foray. I mean, somebody asked me that how the octopus looks like. I've never seen. So if you expect me to speak on octopus, so probably I'll not be able to speak good on it. So whatever you will say, I'll accept, and I'll say, कि, okay, ऐसा है, ऐसा है. So I'll give my all flimsy thoughts and will give it back to you. So that's how, I mean, the trusted is not a word, like, because you are evolving. You see, in the most of the forms we have your like what you call business, the column you have in the form. So you have business, professional,
Yes.
entrepreneur,
Yes.
different columns. The professional, business, entrepreneurship are three different things. Person who is good into doing something very which is coming for a long time, and probably he can manage the processes, or he can do the trading, something which is not innovative, something which is not solving a newer problem. So business is fine, that is business.
Deep.
Professional is who can think and probably can come up with some newer ideas, but he is not into business.
True.
Some professionals are businessmen people, but not everybody. So you need to know better that what you are looking at and what the person can deliver. Most of
Right.
the time, we are planning to drive our car at a speed of 150, but we forget to see the road speed limit is 70, and our vehicle will not sport more than 40, but our aspiration remains at 150. So that's how the trust, we lose the trust. We start talking negative about us, our team, the professional people associated with us. So everything has to be seen as a block, that every block, when it is up to the mark, then only you can probably fulfill your dreams or aspirations what you have built up over a period of time. Not everybody will be in your bus for sure.
Very true. Very true. No, in fact, what Mr. Goel shared, I'm vouched by it. There cannot be any other person you can refer to. Mr. Goel put the facts straight out, and so important, which he has been doing consistently with the companies he has been suggesting or advising. I've seen that. And these are very, very important to realize. And the examples which you share, Mr. Goel, are exciting to the point. A person can understand it very, very clearly. See, we have been discussing. I would request, like, anybody has any queries, Ms. Anita or Mr. Goel over there or Mr. Ram Avtar, if you want to share something, any areas or any parameters, feel free to unmute and put in your queries or your suggestion or ideas. Sanjeev, anything at this stage you wanted to add up?
See, one thing that I have seen, there's a different function in the business. One of
Yeah.
the very important aspect is the human.
Hmm.
Human factor in the business is the most critical.
Hmm.
Whether you're talking about integrity, whether talking about process and the training, because the point is that you don't want to change your employees here and there every 2 years, 3 years. How will keep it moving
Hmm.
so that they can stay in the organization? So
Hmm.
you should organize the proper training, HR activities, and all these things. If you talk about some of the best companies in the world, you know, what is the general tendency? One of the organizations that I have talked about is a 15 days mandatory training, off-site training for each and every manager of the organization. What exactly happens? First, the organization get to know if that person is not there in the position, who is the responsible position, how the business is going to work. Secondly, you're working on upliftment of that person. So these are became more critical today in this unprecedented time, because we are all focused about our function. If somebody into the finance, he will talk about finance, he will talk about operations, somebody will talk about this, that. But at the end of the day, that is the person who will drive all the function. Finance is driving this thing. So a constant, training of the people and motivating to work for the business is one of the best succession policy. What I think is that organization can carry on, where you will have the
True. True.
trusted people. I'm not about the professional. I will talk about the trusted people in the
Yeah.
system
Yeah.
who is working for last 30 years in the organization,
Yes.
and somebody who is really can, all of a sudden some unfortunate thing happen, he knows how to react to the situation, to the organization, and he will always going to support, and by the virtue of being into the system, understanding the owners and everything, he can always suggest, let's do this business. So I think one of the very important factor is a human capital of the business.
Very
We
true.
are we are actually, probably now the organization has start giving some importance, but over the year we have neglected this one very badly.
It
You
has
know,
been. It has been, Sanjeev. Like you have seen it. Mr. Goyal has also seen it.
yeah,
We see it in our webinars.
yeah,
Very simple. I will be sometimes very blunt. We have to be blunt also as consultants.
yes,
Uh, you want to talk about funding, you will have everybody coming down. Funding,
yeah,
funding, funding, funding.
yeah,
You talk about business structuring, they will say that, oh, I know it. You
yeah.
can see. But the factor is,
Human
we
capital.
feel so bad, as you mentioned. We have seen organizations which are so good, so nice, but are not able to grow because of lack of professionalism.
Absolutely.
We have seen family businesses close down because no organizational planning and a beautifully created structure, everybody loses out. The case which I'm sharing with you, in fact, is very closely linked and has been discussed 15 days back. The school to be sold, the parameters are there with me. But such an unstructured, and there are roughly 300 people, direct, indirect, working onto it, very senior people also. Some already applied to move out. A nicely, beautifully created academic systems, think systems, only that people have been on the board, that's it. It was incidental that things were running, and there was one gentleman, as Mr. Goyal pointed out, the younger brother was anchoring the ship. That captain, unfortunately, had to go away, and we can see a nicely built structure over 2 generations, which could have given benefit to them. If it could be saved, well and good. If it can't be, and these are the fates which most of the business families have faced. We know cases which you, me, and Mr. Goyal visited to without naming. family running a business took unprecedented debt because debt was easily available. Now the debt has become the reason for closing the company.
Yeah.
Hence, a professional advisor can tell you what kind of debt to go in for. Money is available in the market. You can go and get it. But what will that money do to you is very important to understand. Very few people can tread on that.
You know, one thing that I'm just not looking from the
I will
owner.
just request Mr. Goel, before I come to you, Sanjeev, just a second. Mr. Goel, anything which you wanted to add up, please, at this stage?
Ultimately, it's an open world. People who are passionate, people who have some vision, they build up, and challenging them is also another difficult task. They say what you
True.
have done and what I have done, then you can't challenge them. Uh,
Yes.
but like you've seen that I generally talk about the person behind the show more because
Hmm.
like we had a network of around 680 centers across India, and
Right.
for a period of time, probably I must have dealt with not less than 1,000 plus people who were
Yes.
first generation business people. I remember an episode about the finances you were talking about way back in 2000, I think two. I
Yes.
had a center somewhere in Maharashtra,
Uh-huh.
and the guy was not been able to do sales more than 30, 40,000 a month.
Hmm.
So uh, he had a lot of discussions with me over phone. I said, "Ki I'll come to you and I'll spend a day with your team, and I give you a commitment that you'll do a business of 3 lakh rupees next month. But you
Hmm.
have to promise me that you will not change the alphabet even in the whatever I'll tell you.
Okay.
It will go with my script, whatever I'll share with you." So I happened to visit them with the same team. We created a script that yes, what you must do and how you must work for the next month. And believe me, the next month they had a sales of around 3.75 lakhs.
Wonderful.
The very next month I called him and I found the guy missing. He was on a vacation.
Oh,
And
I see.
again, he had a collection of 30, 40,000 back. Now, you see, person, you really cannot control the psychology or human behavior of a person. You cannot really capture it fully. You can just
Yes.
advise, you can
Yes.
probably open up the avenues, you can tell him how things will move on. I know buy centers who were doing 4 5 lakh rupees collections in a year. I made them to achieve 70 80 lakh rupees. So I did not do anything. The same knowledge was available to everybody, but few of them could sustain. Few of them did not even listen to what we used to talk, and few of them kabhi kiya kabhi nahi kiya. Sometimes they flip flop. So it happened
Very true.
mostly with respect to the person, as Sanjeev rightly says, that it is the human we are talking about, and understanding
Yes.
human and the kind of response or how he is going to respond to your inputs. But we all are clueless.
We are clueless. We are clueless. Yes, Sanjeev, you were saying something when I cut you short.
Sorry,
So,
it's out of this context because it's not if something succession plan is not in place. Now, everybody is doing the business on some funding, banking or something. Now, what exactly happened? They mortgaged all their home and whatever they have. When this person dies or something, leaving out a huge liability, bank are forced them to vacate the mortgaged house and all
yes.
these things.
Yes.
So I have recently seen few of the cases and I'm feeling very, very bad. And now we're talking about professional. Now there is a policy also available. I get to know some time back, which has given a protection to the of the family as such. Now this is on average not known to somebody when you are doing the business. When the professional will come, we will talk about take a small premium of this so that even if something happens
Yeah.
with your family, because what Ravindraji just talked about, that there's no thing what next. They never think what next
What
beyond
next?
me. That
So
is
that is
the
very, very, very
very,
important.
very important point to
Very important.
really understand with this point.
Great.
When the
Great.
time happens. Yeah.
Wonderful. Sanjeev, thanks for joining in. Mr. Goel, thanks for your contribution and joining into the webinar today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. We look forward to catching up with everybody next week, same time, Saturday. Till that, stay safe. Bye bye.